Hello. My name is Elijah Scott. Um, I've been a Texas Tech student since 2019. I'm a multidisciplinary major with concentrations in natural resource management, general business, and organizational leadership. In this personalized land ethics discussion, I will share my views on environmental sustainability. There are four main points that I would like to make in my personalized land ethics discussion. The first point being, it is possible to save the world. Surprisingly, a lot of people think that the world is unsavable and that the end is near. I do believe that this that we can save the world. We can live in a healthy world that can support us for years to come. Not all hope is lost. With advancements in technology, we are constantly learning new ways to efficiently survive and preserve our world. Even though we are making great advancements in technology and are able to survive and preserve our world, we still have to put an effort into continuously, efforts should be continuously made to preserve the world. It is up to each and every one of us to make an effort to preserve the world. Things like don't pollute, try to throw your trash away. And if you see trash outside, what harm does it do to you to pick it up? So efforts should be continuously made to preserve the world. And if we all make an effort, I do think that the world can be saved. The second point that I would like to make is that we can understand our environment and its needs simply by spending time with it. What I mean by this is that it's important to spend a considerable amount of time in nature to ensure a strong relationship with the world around us. An example of this, what I like to do to spend time with the world around me, to spend time in nature, is to go fishing. Whenever I go fishing, I'm allowed to explore and spend time with nature and really build a bond with the world around me and with nature. I'm able to fall in love with the world every single time I go out and go fishing. And it's a great way to spend time in nature. Also, by spending this kind of time in nature, we're able to observe how our environment responds to factors such as care or neglect. What I mean by this is we can notice things like high pollution in certain areas of the world that destroys habitats. We're also able to see how places like in state parks with low amounts of pollution, there's teeming and healthy wildlife. This goes to show that with care, wildlife is able to be healthy. Wildlife is able to team and be supported, basically. Pollution in areas of high pollution, we can see that habitats are being destroyed and animals are suffering. Personally, when I'm fishing, if I fish somewhere like a state park where pollution is picked up oftentimes by rangers and laws are heavily enforced by rangers there. In those kinds of places, wildlife is teeming. Fishing is usually better. However, in places like Maxie Park, the park close to my house, I'm able to see how high pollution levels can cause things like the fish to die. Oftentimes, ducks and other birds are getting tangled in fishing line that has been polluted and left on the banks. Fish are getting tangled in fishing lines and dying. And so I'm able to notice these kinds of things where if I see a park with lots of pollution, I can see that there's been a lot of neglect to the nature or to nature, and improvements need to be made in order to preserve those areas better. And then in places like state parks, I can see that with enforcement and rangers being around more, there's lower amounts of pollution, and healthy wildlife is more available. And so there are ways to spend time with nature and to give proper attention to nature around us, and it's one of the easiest ways to see and to check up on how our environments are doing and how our efforts are doing. Maybe if you go outside and you see a lot of pollution, maybe you need to make more effort into saving your environment. If you can go outside and see that there's no pollution, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we need to consider giving more praise to enforcement for helping keeping those areas less polluted. The third point I'd like to make is that we can't neglect the world and its needs and expect the world to continue to support us. What I mean by this is if we neglect the world is going to in turn neglect us. We have to keep we have to work hard to keep our environment clean and healthy, so that in return we're able to be clean and healthy. If we lack knowledge of the world's needs and neglect the world around us, we will lose things like breathable air, habitats, and species of plants and animals that are necessary for our survival. With air pollution from the burning of fossil fuels, we're causing global warming and climate change that affects bee populations. This might seem a little bit random, but bees do much of the pollinating necessary for plants to reproduce and inevitably convert toxic carbon dioxide into breathable oxygen for humans and other animals. So if we continue to pollute the air, we won't have clean air to breathe. If we continue to pollute the air, we're going to not only not have clean air to breathe, we're going to wipe out species of plants and animals and inevitably wipe ourselves out. And so it is important to give special care and to not neglect the world. So that brings me to my last point, and that is that with efforts to preserve the world and its resources, we will have a better chance of survival for generations to come. I believe that it's really important to keep future generations in mind, because we should at least want future generations to have a chance at experiencing the same kind of world that we experience, if not better, right? So I believe we must preserve the world at all costs. I want future generations, personally, I want future generations to be able to go outside and breathe air without having to breathe it through a gas mask, right? I want future generations to be able to experience some of the things that I have been blessed to experience, right? And so this means that using resources wisely now and preventing and preventing as much pollution as possible now can ensure a healthy environment for the survival of the human race and for generations to come. An effective way to preserve the world's resources are by reducing, reusing, and recycling. Switching to electric cars is also an excellent way to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. We must explore more efficient ways to survive with the consideration of the survival of future generations. Some examples of reducing, reusing, and recycling are recycling plastic water bottles. Much of our plastic water bottles end up in oceans and end up killing lots of the ocean life. They also pollute much of the terrestrial life as well, and are really damaging to habitats. And so recycling those plastic water bottles helps keep them out of the oceans, helps keep them, in places that they're not supposed to be, and inevitably is beneficial for environments. Also, things like switching to metal reusable water bottles, right? A water bottle that you can refill over and over and over again without having to throw away any of the plastic water bottles that you use for drinking water. Another great way to another great way to preserve the world. This might not be a very cheap option, but of course, as we progress into the future, electric cars, I believe, will be more readily available, and they're an excellent way to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. A lot of our carbon dioxide emissions do come from cars, and those carbon dioxides get trapped in the atmosphere and cause global warming that are melting polar ice caps, raising sea levels, killing a lot of the sea life, and affecting things like the bee populations. So like I said, exploring efficient ways to survive with the consideration of future generations, right? We want the human race to continue on. We don't want to see any sort of like apocalypse or anything in our current lifetime. And I know that I would hate for future generations to have to experience an apocalypse or anything, absurd like that. So to conclude my presentation, I'd like to say that by establishing a relationship with nature and understanding that efforts must be made to sustain a healthy environment for current and future generations to thrive, we can save the world. My name is Elijah Scott. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.